We'll call the meeting to order, and you have a quorum, and so we will proceed first right off the bat with the election of the chair, and typically we'll take nominations from the floor.
I'd move Commissioner Adams to be the chair.
Second. Adams, you will accept that nomination?
Very appreciative. Yes, I will.
Thank you very much. Are there any further nominations? The last time, any further nominations? And hearing none, I will declare Commissioner Adams elected as chair for the commission for 2021.
That's when we clap.
Thanks, Andy.
And then move directly to the election of vice chair. Same process, if I could, please.
I will go ahead, Kel.
I would make a motion that Brenda Lee be appointed the vice chair.
Second.
Director Lee, would you accept that nomination?
Yes, with thanks. Thanks very much.
Thank you. And again, are there further nominations? Gone. Hearing no further nominations, Commissioner Lee, congratulations. We'll confirm you elected as vice chair. Thank you very much. And we'll turn over the meeting to your newly elected chair, Commissioner Adams. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you to Mr. Yates, but also to the commission members for your confidence in me as chair. I am committed to working to continue to work on the recreation recreate project moving forward. Do want to just let you know that I did have conversations over the holiday break where I contacted the Ministry of Municipal Services as there had been a restructuring, and I wanted to confirm that Tara, who has been our staff liaison in that ministry for the Recreate project, was still there, and she confirmed that she is and still has the file and is looking forward to the continued collaboration with us here in the Strathcona Gardens Commission on the project for the Strathcona Regional District. I also, with my relationship with the former chair of the Island Coast Economic Trust and mayor of Tofino, now the new minister for municipal services, I contacted Minister Osborne directly and again emphasized that her staff are completely versed in this application, and that we are ready. This is the most complete project I have ever been involved in as far as the submission, and that we can meet the timeframes and our finances are in place for matching, and the ball is in her court, and we are just waiting for confirmation. So, and I also had the similar conversations with former commissioner and now our representative MLA, Michelle Babchuk. So was putting the plugs in through the holiday season, and now with your endorsement to be chair again, we'll continue to advocate on our behalf. So with that, I will move
receipt of the chair's report.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion?
No, just good work on that. Well,
anyone
I
opposed?
think 2021 is going to be our year. Recreate.
Let's hope so.
This is going to be it.
Anyone opposed? That is carried. Adoption of the public agenda.
So moved.
Move it. Second.
Could I add one item for discussion later on, Mr. Chair?
You may.
The Prince George Pool project.
And would you put that as an addendum item or new business or director's report?
A director's report.
Okay, it'll be MA.
Thank you.
Director's report. Anyone opposed? That's carried, and I'll call the question on adoption of the public agenda. Is anyone opposed? That's carried. Do we have, don't believe we have any petitions or delegations. So we're moving on to adoption of the November 4th, 2020 SGC minutes
Move adoption.
for receipt.
Move
Second.
receipt.
Thank you. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? That is carried. Moving on to the business arising. We've already had the chair's report. On to J, the staff reports of the energy efficient project update. And
I received a report.
thank you. We have a seconder.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Gunnerud, and over to staff for anything further on the report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think Wolfgang will speak to this for us, give us an update. He is muted, Wolf.
Sorry,
There
Dave.
you go.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's been a while since I presented an update to the energy recovery project. So back in May 2020, we awarded a contract to Nelson Roofing and Sheet Metal, a local contractor, to supply and install 3 air handling units and 1 dehumidifier for Arena 2. These 3 air handling units will serve every single area of the facility except the arenas. The schedule to complete this project was towards the end of November 2020. We have had a delay of 6 weeks due to several reasons that I explained in my report. The first reason is addition of scope of work that was required and was missed by the prime consultant. This is the adding 3 heat exchangers and a few pumps to the system. That created a delay due to manufacturing and supplying this equipment to Campbell River. The second one is related to a crane. We have some issues, mechanical issues with the crane, and it was very difficult to actually procure 1 crane here on the island. And the last one was related to finding manpower through the holidays. The good news, despite all the delays that we have had and all the issues, is that the air handling units are scheduled to start up next week. It was confirmed literally a few minutes ago by the contractor. And completion of this phase number 3 is scheduled for the end of January. We have 1 more phase that is subject to recreate approval, and it's also subject to the design of the recreate project, which RFP is currently underway. That is my update. If anyone has any questions, I welcome them right now.
Questions from the commission?
Commissioner Grunnerud, just glad to see that this process is nearing completion. Wolfgang, thank you.
Thank you. Anything further? Wolfgang, just a question from me. Has there been any thought or discussion that some of these delays that where additional costs are being incurred, that is that being borne solely by us, or is that shared with the understanding that this is COVID related? And with that, would that be eligible for any of the restart money to help assist on?
Well, maybe I can answer that. So just going back to the impetus of making applications. So these programs come out, and it's one of the things I endorse, trying to be study ready with these opportunities. So as we all know, the province feds comes out with funding opportunities, and they don't give you a whole lot of time. And so you either got something shelf ready and you're concrete with your numbers, or you don't want to miss an opportunity, you scramble and you put some numbers together. So this one was a scramble, put some numbers together. We put forward the $4.6 million, and they say, okay, 4.6, and they give you the money, and you're on the hook for anything else. So if you're over, if the costs are over the 4.6, you're on the hook for that. However, we had a couple plans in terms of that. One with Recreate, we are building in some of that work on that, borrowing in that 10-year plan. and there is some COVID money that we have received from the province. We got about 540,000, and so just to give you a heads up, I have allocated a portion of that and left a portion unallocated for 2021, so we can have a better look at this later in the year. Hopefully see where Recreate is, hopefully see when the facility's open, what kind of revenues we're receiving, and then have a little bit of float to make any adjustments.
Thank you. Anything further from the commission? Hearing none, I'll call receipt of the motion. Is anyone opposed? That is carried. On to item 2, Strathcona Gardens Arena Camera System Speedio request for receipt.
Move receipt.
Second.
Thank you. Staff, anything further to add to the report?
I think Corrine or Ryan can speak to this if you wish.
Yeah, through the CEO and through the chair, I'd like to call on Ryan, who was in meetings with minor hockey through this project, to speak on behalf of the report. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Commission. So we did follow up on after the meeting on November 4th, when we were asked to follow up with Campbell River Minor Hockey Association to see what we would need to do and what would be required to get arena camera system operational behind the scenes. So again, the Speedio is a streaming service developed for 2 primary purposes. And the first and foremost is to provide spectators with an online streaming platform, something that we do not have at this moment. That would be extremely beneficial to the community. The second was to help coaches and athletes by using state-of-the-art video equipment to improve performance. So we met with representatives from Campbell River Minor Hockey as well as Speedio, and after a thorough review of the program, it is staff's recommendation that if a camera system and streaming service are to come into the regional district or into Strathcona Gardens, that an external organization be financially responsible for the project, its operations, and any holding of any licensing agreements. We came to this conclusion for a number of reasons, a few concerns about it. First and foremost, there are no Canadian organizations currently present that use Speedio, a Swedish company, in their facilities. That's across the country, so there's no Canadian organizations. After reaching out to our risk managers as well as MIABC, Municipal Insurance Association of British Columbia, they were in agreement that by having an external party hold the responsibility for this, it would greatly reduce the regional district's risk and liability, as well as the financial considerations. The initial cost estimate of the project, if hosted by the regional district, would require a formalized purchasing and procurement process. And we respect that, under COVID-19, there might be some, urgency to get this up and running. And there's already other streaming services available that are freely used in Canada when reaching out to our other organizations and rec facilities, what their user groups have been utilizing. So I'm happy to answer any additional questions that you may have with respect to our research and the costs that have been laid out as well. And we can go from there. Thank you.
Thank you for the report. Any comments from the commission or questions?
Commissioner Gunnerud?
Yes, Commissioner. Yes, Kel, go ahead.
I guess it's a good thing that staff has done their homework. Sounds like to be the initial purchaser or operator of this type of system in Canada. I'm sure there's other people have looked at it and found there being too many hang-ups or issues or questions. So I'm glad to hear the report and any comments from any of the other commissioners. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further? I just have one, and thank you, staff, for the report. I think this is a great initiative. I'm just thinking of young families that are here with that may have grandkids on the floor. or on the ice participating, and the grandparents maybe live in Alberta or Saskatchewan. And for them to have the ability to be able to watch their grandkids play, I think is pretty special. And with that, I'm just wondering, appreciating the staff report that we don't take any ownership or participation in this. Could we still provide maybe some financial in the capital acquisition costs of the cameras themselves, just to help Motor Hockey get this going? Would that be appropriate and still keep us at arm's length where we are not liable?
Yeah, absolutely. If the commission wants to recommend some money go towards it, whatever the commission's will is.
Okay, Commissioner Gunner.
I have my hand up, Chair.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I think we had Commissioner Evans. I've got multiple
Thank
screens
you,
going.
and
Bear with me.
that's okay. That's okay, no problem. A couple of questions through to staff. I was going along the same lines of looking whether there would be any funding opportunities. But my first question really, Ryan, was the free platform. Did anybody comment on the success of the free platforms that are available from the outreach that you did? What are people doing if they're not using this particular product?
Yeah, so thank you, Commissioner Evans. The number one, when reaching out to my colleagues and peers at other organizations and other facilities, has been Facebook Live. And so what has happened is teams have utilized, just like Campbell River Minor Hockey, and had waivers signed, but they're using their volunteers and using what we would refer to as our ambassadors or parents to have a hockey team page and video it live, and then parents can log in for free. One of the other challenges, one of the other sort of concerns that we had of the Spidio is Spidio itself as the organization controls everything. So as a parent, if I'm going to pay $2, which is the minimum charge, I pay it to Spidio. And so we have no control over that. Spidio then pays us. So if there are any challenges, again, we are further arm's length from assisting our community members.
Well, and that was going to be my follow-up question in terms of the actual product. Is it, if it's proprietary, you know, we know ourselves from streaming services, all of a sudden what starts out as $2 now becomes, you know, higher and higher. And when this was first introduced, I was really in favor of it because I saw it was something that would bring the community together. And as Chair Adams has said, it's about our parents and being able to watch the kids. And I mean, I know there's coaching benefits as well, but I'm a little hesitant to just move forward with Spidio without first maybe trying the free platform and seeing if there is interest in the community to maybe go that direction. Is it your sense that the community would be supportive of something like that? Or do you think that we need to move to something a little bit more robust?
I think, sorry, if I may, I think we need to look at opportunities, right? If this was something that the regional district was to become involved in from a financial standpoint, again, we would always go to a procurement process because this technology is new to all of us. And Spidio to me looks like wonderful and excellent opportunities, but what else might be out there? And if nobody else has grasped it, there are already streaming services for the minor hockey and the junior hockey leagues that are in play as well. So I just feel as though there might be other opportunities, and they should definitely be investigated and talk to the user groups and see.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have Commissioner Lee, and we are on a receipt, and Commissioner Lee has got a draft motion for deferral to the budget. But as we're just, Commissioner Lee, if there are comments just on receipt before we entertain anything else.
Just further to Commissioner Evans' comments about what else could be out there, and Ryan's comments, there could be other platforms out there that we might be interested in. And considering that the Local Government Act and the Community Charter does not allow us to direct contract with private organizations without going out to procurement. We need to look at the legalities of tying our fate to one particular private organization. And, you know, that Corinne's, our manager's comments in the staff report, that there are other considerations such as privacy issues when you're taking pictures of other people's children. We need to know that we're on solid ground if we're doing that as well. So how that would work. I think we should just defer. Perhaps in the 2021 budget, we could put some money into this category and then go out to procurement if we want to proceed.
Okay, thank you. And just remind you, we're on receipt. So Commissioner Evans, do you have a question?
No, I don't. I've lowered my hand. Thank you.
Commissioner Gunnerud here, Chair. I just
Yep.
wonder, has Ryan spoken with minor hockey recently about this issue, and if they got any qualms about going another direction, or are they steadfast leaning in this direction?
If I may, when I have spoken to Mr. Visser since the conversations and since the meetings that we've had, he is aware of our procurement process, and that if we were going to become financially involved in this, that it might take a little bit more time. And you know, he reiterated to me that they are as well very interested in this type of streaming services, and they are still as well researching to see if it'd be feasible for their organization as well, you know, with respect to getting some grant funding and such.
Okay, Commissioner Gunnerud, does that address your query?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, seeing nothing further, on the motion just for receipt, is anyone opposed? Hearing none, that is carried. Commissioner Lee, you have a subsequent?
I would just like to defer this item to maybe our budget meetings for further discussion and information about how we proceed.
Okay.
So if I may, before that, this is a bit of a unique budget year in that obviously COVID, staff didn't bring forward any business cases. So we didn't have that. We don't have additions. What we've done is tried to manage the garden's budget with a no requisition increase, which we've done. Sorry to let the cat out of the bag too early there, but we don't really have, to be honest with you, Strathcona Gardens financial budget meetings kind of set up because of this unique year. We've been putting the budget packages together here the next 2 weeks, and we kind of have a draft. Now it's still open for input, mind you, but we aren't scheduling any. I don't have a Strathcona Gardens budget meeting scheduled. If there is something that we want to talk about in terms of that, I would suggest maybe we have it now. We can have it after the budget, during it, at the board meeting, but just so you know, we don't have a budget meeting for the gardens scheduled here.
Mr. Reach, so appreciating that you haven't got a separate meeting scheduled, would it not be appropriate to have the report as to what you have just described presented to the commission at a regular meeting?
Yeah, so that would be next month, for example, and I'm going to bring a draft budget on the 27th of January. Now that doesn't mean we can make amendments to the budget at any time we want, but I'm just thinking if you think it's going to be a typical year where we're going to bring the draft budget and we're going to have a gardens discussion and a board discussion and others, it's kind of not rolling out that way. So anything's possible. I'm just trying to say that, you know, we don't have a meeting scheduled specifically for the gardens to talk about budget issues. But again, we can make any amendment anytime we want.
Don't know how the rest of the commission feels, but I would like to have it on an agenda, whether it's just a regular commission meeting, that we just have a rollout of the information of what staff have done, just to get that consent from the commission.
On the overall budget?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I can do that.
Well, that's just me. Any other members of the commission have a comment or thoughts?
Well, I'm not sure if Cal does. I keep seeing his, I'm not sure if he has his hand up. I'm sorry, I can't tell, but I certainly would support that. I mean, I just think it's important. I appreciate it's a unique year, but I think it's important that the commission has the opportunity, just even for due diligence and for your, just a governance, just to be able to endorse, as the chair says, or not, but my sense is, to endorse. But I also think it's important, if I may, Chair, I don't feel that we've resolved this. I know we've taken receipt, but I think this is one where possibly if it's brought forward at are you thinking maybe the January 27th commission, or it would be February, would it be? Or when would you be bringing that forward, the draft budget?
Well, I'll have to give it some thought here, but I can push the draft budget off until after we have the commission meeting.
Mr. Leach, sorry, not meaning to interrupt, but I don't think that would be necessary. I think if you were just looking to present a draft budget to the board,
exactly,
in between the draft and final adoption, if it's presented to the commission just and have a brief run through, I think that. Adequate.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. No, I'm not seeing it having any interruption in terms of your process. But if I may ask, Chair, so just again coming back to the Speedio initiative, if when you presented that there was a discussion to add something to the budget, maybe with a funding source to be a partial funded by the grant that we received, the government grant. Would that not be the time that we would be able to discuss that?
Yeah, at the February meeting, I would say. So the good news, I just want everything's fluid, right? Like, we have a few months to adopt the budget, bring the committees. Anything's possible. So don't worry about that. I can do anything. So we can have a report on the February commission meeting on the budget and kind of talk about what we did. We can put this issue back on there and at the same time talk about, funding availability or maybe what you'd like to do at that time too.
Thank you. So through to Commissioner Lee, with the motion to refer this to budget, now that we don't have a budget, are you okay with withdrawing the motion?
Sure, I can withdraw the motion. I'm getting all these messages from people saying that, from Cal and from Corrine, saying there's no rush to do this video project this year because the seasons are winding down. And it'll give us, we need some time to talk to minor hockey and find out what their preferences are on this. And maybe this isn't the platform they want. We need to talk to them. And then if we need to put money in the budget to proceed with a streaming project, then we have to find out how much it's going to cost. We have to go out to procurement and find out what the cost is and then put it in a budget. It might not even get into a budget till next year.
Right. Okay. So the motion has been withdrawn and we have we've already done receipts. We have given direction, not by way of motion, but just direction to our CAO and to staff on just updating on the financial process. So I think we can move on if everybody's comfortable with that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on to the section 3, the license agreement for the Campbell River Storm for receipt.
Move receipt.
Second.
Discussion. Thank you, Corinne, for the report. I just had, in reviewing it, I have one question, and that is, knowing that this year has been pretty much a bust for them financially and operationally, and we may have a little bit of a season, but not much. With the fact that there was the option in the license agreement for a 1-year extension, what are your thoughts about extending that 2 years in lieu that this year has basically not been a real season?
Thank you through the CEO and through the chair to the commission. In terms of an extension of the agreement, that it kind of aligned with the end of their season, and I think at the time, one of the challenges that we did with the renewal of this agreement was to come in line with actually knowing a little bit more about the Recreate project and the challenge and the upgrades in the arena. And without speculating on just different things that are going to happen, if at the time of creating the agreement, we didn't put in a longer term agreement at the time, and still with some uncertainty around that, extending it for another couple of years wasn't like a renewal with the option to renew for 2 years wasn't placed into the document for that reason.
But would that be, are you alluding to the fact that with the Recreate project, we may not have Arena 1 or 2?
That at the time was the understanding, because we were going for the full project at the time that this agreement was put into place.
So understanding that the project has now been defined not to include Arena 1, go back to my question, and the current agreement allows for a provision of a 1-year add-on to the existing contract. What I'm suggesting is that instead of that 1 year, because we've essentially missed a year, that we consider 2?
I guess that's at the discretion of the commission, if that's an entertainment that you would like to propose in putting forward. That would be considered.
Okay, and just so you know, I have no conversations with anybody in the Storm organization on this. It's just a thought for consideration by the commission.
Yeah, thank you.
Discussion?
Yes, I'd like to speak to this. I think we're safer to just go year by year right now. COVID's still going to be hanging around probably till September before vaccines are available, and I don't like the idea of extending a 2-year agreement when they still owe us quite a lot of money. They still owe us $15,500, and they're 120 days in arrears. So I don't think we should be so, so anxious to extend a 2-year to them. I think, and plus we don't know what's going to happen with Recreate. I mean, we could get Treasury Board approval to go ahead with our Recreate project, and that'll take a lot of our facility out of action for a while. So I think we should just go year by year.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Lee. And just before I go to Mr. Yates, in option B, it confirms that the extension of the 1-year license renewal in the existing contract will not happen until all the accounts are paid in full. So Mr. Yates and then Mr. Rack.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to put this out there for the Commission's information that a 1-year renewal is not going to be a problem from a administrative perspective, but going into 2 years, we may have to go back through a public notification because when we advertised this, it was on the basis as currently set out in the contract. So I'm just putting that out to you that there might be a further wrinkle that has to be overcome.
Thank you, Mr. Yates. Ms. Gurak?
I also wanted to important note that a payment has been made by the Campbell River Storm this week in terms of updating their account. It's not a full payment. As I said in the staff report, one of the things that is outstanding is their application for a rent subsidy program. And as of today, I still don't know if they've been accepted through the rent subsidy program in order to get that funding through their means of getting that and repay and applying that to their payment of funds to Strathcona Guard to the regional district.
Okay, thank you. So is there any further discussion on receipt? Commissioner Evans?
No, I'll wait until we move to B, your Chair.
Okay, is there any opposition to receipt of the license agreement report? Hearing none, we'll move on to B, that the Commission recommend the Regional District approve entering a one-year license renewal.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Evans?
Thank you, Chair. And my concerns around this was just the financial viability of the organization to be able to overcome what is already seen as a fairly significant amount outstanding to us. But that's great news to hear that they have paid. Could I just ask, as a percentage, was it 50% or what percentage of the outstanding debt was paid?
Yeah, not 50% of that. I don't have the number off the top of my head, but I don't believe it was close to the 50%.
Okay. And if they are successful in applying for that grant, can they apply that grant to back rent or is it for subsequent rent?
Yeah, in terms of that, I think the application was open from September, but I don't know the terms of when they can actually apply that to, or how backdated they can apply that funding for. But they're in arrears since September, since we've been charging them.
Okay. And if I may ask, Chair, just one more question. The inclusion of a 3% inflation rate, if we waived that, what are the financial implications, or is that built into the agreement, or do we have the option to just pull that inflation rate from the agreement? Just hear from staff what the pros or cons of doing that would be.
Well, I think in terms of a garden's $6 million budget and the amount of money that we collect off them, the 3% is a pretty small number. It's fairly insignificant, to be honest. I believe it's kind of been a historical number. So, if the commission wants to provide any input on that, I don't really think the financial impact of the overall operation, it's not going to make any impact to us.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. And I see Mr. Yates and Ms. Gurak's hands are up. Do you still have comment, or is that from previous?
Yeah, I think that's from previous. I just want to clarify, it's just slightly less than 50% of the overall that they paid. And in terms of the 3%, the 3% is on the monthly fee of their approximately $3,500 charge a month. So as you can see, as they said, it's not much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you. And Ms. Gurak, would it be fair to assume that if the storm do pay the balance in full of what is owing, they may not be eligible to receive any grants?
That's what the owner had alluded, that right now that they're holding back on that due to the fact that they want to show that there's amount owing, so that when their application was made. So until she heard from the application that would not be paid in full.
I think that's a fair comment. I mean, if you're looking for rent relief and you pay the bills, they're going to look at you as having the capacity to pay. So I think that's a fair strategy on her part. Okay.
Anything further from the commission? Is anyone opposed to the one-year license renewal as presented? Hearing none, that is carried. Moving on to the 2021 schedule of meetings.
Move receipt.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Anyone opposed? That
Move
is
B.
carried.
Move B.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Evans. Any discussion on the proposed calendar? Hearing none. Anyone opposed? That is carried. And receipt of correspondence.
Move receipt.
We have a seconder.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Yes, Commissioner Gunnerud.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I'm curious as to why they would want to extend their season when there's ultimately nothing to play for besides their local championship, because all of the provincial championships are not being held this year.
That's a good question.
I'm curious as to the discussion that we just had with their license agreement extension, and now they want us to keep the ice in for another month or more. I don't know what they'd be playing for.
I think the commission probably knows Lee pretty well, and Lee bleeds hockey, lives hockey, and probably wants to practice 8 days a week kind of deal. So I think any opportunity he can have to have more ice is kind of he's motivated by.
So my question then would be through to staff. What would the financial implications be of that? Noting that minor hockey is probably going to be wrapping up their seasons very shortly. Would there be any other users interested or have the appetite for ice time during these unforeseen times?
I don't know, maybe Corrine?
Corrine's got her hand up, but she doesn't want to speak to us.
Yeah, she's muted. She's muted.
Sorry, it was on the mute button. Sorry. So on the receipt of that question, Cal, we in the off time when the Arena 2 is pulled out, we generally have the dry floor space, which is occupied by lacrosse groups, which unfortunately last year their season was impacted by COVID. Any impact to their season generally in Arena 1. So there is a financial ramification of that. We also, if you looked at running a different arena, there would also be just different implications from a community recreation standpoint by just operating the Arena 2 space as a dry floor space and that space still with ice in it. So as you could flip the ice surfaces, and that would cause you some different politics or concerns from a community-based level as well. So there are ramifications to this request.
Director Lee?
Yes, I'm not in favor of adjusting the schedule at this point. My youngest son played lacrosse, and for quite a long time, a couple of years anyway, lacrosse was bumped a month ahead for access to Arena 1, and we had to drive, all the parents had to drive to Courtenay, to the Comox Valley Recreation Center to do our practices and whatnot. And I think that there are lots of, user groups that would like to have access. This is a private company that's asking us to possibly bump out other recreation users, and I don't think it's appropriate at this time. I don't think we should And we don't know if we're even going to be playing anything in the next 6 months. This virus is really taking off, and we don't have vaccines yet. So I don't think we can promise anything. I think we should just receive and file this.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Lee. I'm going to weigh in and just remind people of the last sentence in the second paragraph of the letter. And it's talking, it's requesting that the ice not be removed to allow our programming to participate in the extended VIJHL schedule. If this request was granted only on the confirmation of the extension of the VIJHL schedule, would that not be appropriate? But we wouldn't extend it just for them to skate and practice. But if we don't know what's going to happen next week versus next month, but if they get the permission to resume and the league says we're going to go until the end of April instead of early April, would we not have an obligation to provide the facility under our agreement with them? Mr. Leach or Mr. Yates?
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. We can bring a report back and have a look at this, and so the commission has a better idea of the financial implications and the practical implications of this and the opportunities to do that.
Okay.
Move to refer back to staff for the report.
Yeah.
And if I may,
Commissioner Evans?
yes, thank you, Chair. And if I may, we would have to have a reason to justify the extension. That's a reason. And I think that question was asked in the very beginning. How do you defend something if you don't have a reason? So I would be able to support this reason, but I wouldn't be able to support something that was just, because they want to have more time to skate. So to me, as our chair has identified, that we don't know whether that's going to happen or not, but that is a legitimate reason for consideration. So I think a referral to staff to provide additional financial information is definitely the way to go. And I apologize, but I had a meeting that was scheduled that I do have to leave for. So great to see everybody. Thank you so much, everyone.
Okay.
Thanks, Colleen.
Thank you.
Thanks, Colleen. Thank you.
So, Mr. Chairman,
So what I'm going to, Mr. Yates, go ahead.
I was just going to suggest that you probably want to call the motion on receipt before considering a referral.
I was just going to do that.
Good idea.
So on receipt, is anyone opposed? That's carried. Commissioner Lee.
Move to refer back to staff to firm up some of these details regarding the VIJHL season.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Could I also include in that we should maybe reach out to the other 8 arena facilities and see what their plans or their thoughts are?
We should probably do that in a separate motion.
Well, we could incorporate that in the report. Corinne could see what others are doing.
But wouldn't the VIJHL be doing that?
You'd think so.
That's part of the question with the letter is we're kind of wondering why that letter wasn't more global, and yet we haven't surveyed our local colleagues yet to see how everybody else is handling it, because they would have to get all arenas on board with that too.
So Corinne, are you comfortable with the subsequent motion as it is?
Absolutely.
Good. So we'll call the question. Is anyone opposed? That is carried. Thank you. And we are now motion to, there's no commissioner reports, no new business.
Sorry, Chair Adams, I believe Commissioner Gunnerud had an additional item under commissioner reports.
Okay. Commissioner Gunnerud?
Correct. Thank you. Just reading the Prince George Citizen the other day, and they have broken ground before Christmas on their new 38,600 square foot Aquatic Center, which will include a 6-lane 25-meter lap pool and a 4-lane 25-meter teaching pool, leisure pool, lazy river, beach entry, play features, large waterside sauna, steam room, large universal change room, and rooms for lessons and training. A very interesting photo layouts and stuff like that. What it was, project cost is budgeted at $42 million. They received 10 million from some northern allowance thing, and this was
the Northern Trust. Yeah.
Okay. I'm just thinking, I'm looking at the number, and I don't know where the building is being built is the site of a former 2-story, I believe it is, motel. So I'm not sure if that cost included the purchase of that hotel land or not, or if the city somehow otherwise acquired it. But I'm thinking what our numbers are, and we're into part of a new build and a retrofit of part of the old building, etc. I don't think we're too far off, as their new build is $42 million. So
just
not sure if the commission is aware of this project or not, but interesting.
I think they are, if I can, Mr. Chair. Just want to refresh the Commission's memory that we used on this latest submission, Prince George, as a bit of a template for our application to the funding program. So they got about, I think, 10 or 12 million dollars on a much larger project and identified a section of their project that they wanted to make application for. So we did something similar. So we took the success they had and we crafted our application based on what they did.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Leach.
Thank you. So on receipt of the commissioner information, is anyone opposed? We have a seconder. Sorry. Thank you, Commissioner Lee.
Second.
Thank you. Anyone opposed? That is carried, and the motion to move into closed session.
Move the receipt of the CIO's report on the closed session.
Thank you.
Second.
Anyone opposed? That is carried. Commissioner Lee.
I move that we go in camera under the named sections of the community charter, section 91C and O.
Second.
Any discussion? Anyone opposed? That is carried. So, do we need to sign out and sign back in?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, if you could have the meeting terminated, because this will be a brand new meeting to go into closed session.
And then you go to your email and sign back in.
Yep. Thank you. See you in a minute.